Good morning, good people. It is so good to see you. And decided to take it outside this morning. Yeah, good morning, Maddie. It's a beautiful day today. I feel like Mr. Rogers. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. It's a beautiful day. Won't you be my neighbor? Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to June. I pray that all of you are well and keeping safe still. And, you know, they're lifting the stay home, but hope that you're not trying to go overboard with it. I still want you healthy and whole. So please continue to stay safe. Good morning, Trina. Blessings to you on this day. Good morning to all of you watching, wherever you are watching. Good morning, Rhonda. Good to see you, my sister. What a beautiful, glorious day it is on today. Margaret, Sarah, good morning to you. Blessings to you all. So good to see you hanging out with us on Saturday morning. We've been doing this for a little while. Sarah, something about your spirit brings a smile to my face. Friend from many moons ago, Fawn. Good to see you, Fawn. Please tell your sister I say hello. Hello to you. So I don't want to be, I always say this every week, but I really don't want to be long this morning. But I do have, well, I try to say important things every week, but I feel like we're living in a time now where, you know, things matter a lot, and no pun intended, but it's kind of what I want to talk about today. Can you see my t-shirt? I'm making a statement today. If you don't recognize this face on the t-shirt, it is the eyes of Colin Kaepernick. And I'm going to be talking about him in a little bit, but you know, this morning I saw on the news that the NFL commissioner, National Football League commissioner, Roger Goodell, admitted that he was wrong in his stance on how NFL players were peacefully protesting. He did not say Colin Kaepernick's name out of his mouth, but we all know that Colin Kaepernick was the first person in the NFL to take a knee in silence, not protesting the national anthem of the United States, but protesting police brutality. And this was 2015, 2016. And so what's very, troublesome, at least, is the fact that 5 years later, 4 years later, we're having this same conversation, but it's not even a 5-year or 4-year conversation. This is what we have to realize. This is a 400-year conversation. Anyway, I'm not even into the sermon yet. Just want to make sure. But this is what we got to talk about today. You know, we can't just pretend that things aren't happening in the world. We can't pretend that you know, our world is out of sorts, and it's been out of sorts. It didn't just get out of sorts. I think this is what people don't realize. You know, it's not just because of Ahmaud Arbery and George Floyd and the sister in Toronto, or, you know, it's not just recent news. You know, these things have been happening systemically forever, right? Like, I was listening recently to a sermon, and we're still in the midst of this pandemic called COVID-19. And but I thought it was a really nice play on words. We've been living with COVID-16-19 for 400 years. COVID-16-19 is a reference to the first slave ship that landed in Jamestown, Virginia, 1619. That's 400 years. This disease has been global for 400 years. Countries all over Europe have, you know, made their kingdoms and their fortunes based on this same conversation that we're having even this week. Great Britain, why are they great? Because they colonized the world based on this system of racial superiority, manifest destiny. The United States, people came here from Europe and, you know, decimated the natives of this land of North America, both in the United States, now the United States, and in Canada. And it wasn't just Great Britain. You got Spain that was involved, Portugal was involved, Amsterdam was involved, the French were involved. I mean, this is, but we don't necessarily look back at these histories. And one thing I think we have to talk about, unfortunately, well, I mean, whatever it is, what it is, the church was involved. The church was sanctioning these countries and what they were doing. So anyhow, I guess I'm in it already. Sorry, sorry, not sorry. So today I want to talk about why Black Lives matters. Why Black Lives matter. And it's crazy that I even have to bring this conversation up because it's like, duh, Black Lives matter. But the flip side of that is, again, for 400 years or so, Black lives haven't mattered. And whether you want to say Black or African or person of color, however you want to, you know, define it. Across the street from New Beginnings, there's this place, it's called Acoma now, Acoma Family Life Center. I'm glad they changed the name. But when I landed in Nova Scotia 8 years ago, it was actually called the Home for Colored Children. And I was like, who uses colored anymore? Anyway, that's what it was called, the Home for Colored Children. So, you know, we've been niggers, we've been Negroes, we've been colored, we've been Afro-American or Afro-Canadian, we've been Afri. You know, I like Black personally. I like Black personally. To me, it's kind of subversive, and it's, you know, Black also is the color that makes up all the other colors. So I personally prefer Black. Yes, I am an African American. I was born in American. I'm of African descent. Anyhow, why do Black lives matter? And the reason why I want to talk about this today, yes, it's obviously in the news, but I was talking to a good friend of mine on yesterday, a good pastor friend of mine, and I want to thank all of my pastor friends, particularly my white pastor friends and the Convention of Atlantic Baptists in Canada, who have reached out to me personally via text message or email, basically empathizing with my pain and thoughts, and my thoughts, and I really appreciate that. It shows that you care and that you're not oblivious, that this is some theoretical or ethereal thing, but this is something that's happening actually now, and it's impacting real life people. And so I really appreciate you. I'm going to call some names. Jay Guptill, I appreciate you. Jamie, former pastor of Eastern Passage Church. My good friend, Andrew from Convention. Thank y'all for reaching out. And I especially want to thank my good friend, Derek Funk. And, we just talk regularly. So I thank y'all for your words. And Derek, I especially want to thank you for our conversation yesterday. And I'm going to share a bit of it. Now, these are not his opinions, some things that was shared with him in conversation. And this is why I need to talk about this today. So Derek was talking to some of his other pastor friends, particularly white pastor friends. And I don't know, I think some of them were in Halifax and then others across the country. Basically, they were making the claim that Black Lives Matter. One was anti-Semitic, which is anti-Jewish people. Black Lives Matter was racist, and Black Lives Matter is responsible for the violence that we're seeing erupting in the United States in the protests. So one, Black Lives Matter is anti-Semitic, Black Lives Matter is racist, and Black Lives Matter is responsible for the violence that we are seeing with the violence that's erupting across North America. So I need to deal with, why Black Lives Matter, because, people are actually believing these things, believing that Black Lives Matter is anti-Semitic. Now I'm going to speak to that, and this may be a little deeper than we usually do on Saturday morning, but you know what? I hope that I can help you out, and I hope that you can do your own research, and so that we can continue the conversation. And one thing that I'm going to say in the beginning now is even more so. A few years ago, I used to have this thing called conversations. Well, guess what, my brothers and sisters? It's time for us to have some courageous conversation once again, because we need to hear from each other. I feel like this thing of structural and systemic racism can be deconstructed first on personal levels, and it happens by way of relationship. And so if we can talk to each other and get to know each other and understand each other and understand why we do certain things, then at least on a personal level, we can deconstruct some of these fallacies as it relates to race relations. And let me just say